welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over how to install and play The Witcher Enhanced Edition, which is the first Witcher game on Retroid devices, Android devices. This is the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. I'm going on GOG.com. Just searching up The Witcher, you can find all the different Witcher games. There's 3 games. So what we're looking for is the first one. Mostly what you'll see is the third one. So before we dive into the Witcher 1 tutorial, I just want to review the memory that each game takes up, and you can refer to this page if you ever are curious how much storage, how many gigabytes each Witcher game takes up. I'm installing all these games to an SD card. None of these games are stored on internal storage in these tutorials. So all of these games are DRM free. They don't require a Steam client. They're downloaded from places like GOG.com, good old games, and you can launch them from your SD card, no problem. I figured out how to do it on each game, and I'm showing you step by step how to do that. So if you're curious how much storage, do these things take, just refer to this page, game by game, and all of these tutorials work for the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 and the Retroid Pocket 5. Or any Snapdragon 865 device. You're going to get identical performance as me in these videos, and they will all launch in the versions of the emulators that I use, so make sure you use the same versions of those emulators. And if you use the Switch emulator, it'll be 50 gigabytes, but with the DLC included, it'll be 57 gigabytes, and if you only use PC emulators, it'll be 65.7 gigabytes. All together with all the DLCs included in each game. Now I'm going to show you all 5 sections of this video right here. So if you have a specific game on a specific emulator that you want to try, skip ahead by using the timestamp. The Witcher 1 is kind of a complex one to get running because it's a PC game that's kind of old. It's from 2007, I believe, and it doesn't have gamepad support, so you have to map out your own gamepad. But I did that actually, and I have the config file online that you can just import to your Winlator container, and then you can basically have gamepad support. And basically like a few clicks, and you don't have to go through and map the whole keyboard out. I already did it for you, so that's going to be a kind of a cool aspect of this video. And other than that, there also is a few complexities with the game, some settings and stuff that we'll go over. So once you download the game, once you buy it from GOG, you're going to go to Reddit. This is how you get my config for the gamepad. Basically turns the keyboard into a gamepad. Just go to the r/Retroid Pocket Flip 2 subreddit, and you're going to go to the wiki page. I'll also probably post a link to this in the description, but here's a place where you can find it as well. On the wiki, you can go to the settings page, or you can just scroll down to all the PC game settings for the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and it should be near the bottom, the W for Witcher. There it is. And what you're going to focus on is the here is my config file, the hyperlink in blue. Once you click the hyperlink, you should be brought to a Google Drive download page like this. And then just press download, or maybe open it in Firefox. And that's the config file right there, the .icp file. That's what you're looking for. So that's good. It'll be in your downloads, so you can check your downloads to see if it's there. Witcher 1 keyboard.icp. Nice. So that'll be basically converting a PC game that's only available through mouse and keyboard and changing it to a gamepad support for the Retroid handheld. Next, we're going to be going to the emulator that I use, which is Winlator Frost 10.1 V2. Now, it's not the newest Winlator Frost, but the newer one, V3, does not work. It does not have compatibility with this game. So you have to go one older. At the time of making this video, V3 is the newest. But we're going to go back one release to 10.1 V2. I tried it in V3, it did not work. It doesn't work in Winlator CMod or Gamehub either. This is the only one it worked on, is V2. V2 is a special release. It seems to be compatible with a lot of stuff, which is awesome. So it's a good one to stick to. Once you've downloaded that one off the GitHub, you'll have a little Winlator Frost. I'm going to delete my second one, but just click on that .apk and then install it. And you're basically going to get your GOG game on an SD card and install it You have to install the GOG game in the Winlator container. That's very important. You'll see this screen while it's installing. It's going to install DirectX 9.0c, all the important stuff. You want to use the same container you install it into. After you do so, you'll get a launch button you can press, but you're going to notice something funky when you pressed it at first, and then you click launch game in the launcher. Yeah, the other Winlators, that wouldn't even show up. You'd click it and nothing would happen. But it's not gonna work right off the bat unless you have your resolution set to 1920 by 1080. So I think my resolution was on 966 or something, or 960 by 554 or whatever, just so I can see better on the Winlator container. And you get a black screen at first, and then you get a very small game window in the top left corner if you don't have it at 1920 by 1080. So if you want to have full screen game, you have to set your container resolution to 1920 by 1080 when you launch the game. Also, you'll notice that you can't skip the movies, these intro movies. You might be pressing start, you might be going to the keyboard to try to do something, nothing works. So you're just going to be stuck watching a movie. So you might as well quit out of it and start over again, and go to your container settings and change the screen size, the resolution, all the way to the max 1920 by 1080. That way you'll have a full screen. This is the turnip configuration I'm using, by the way, 25.2.0, and DXVK is 2.5.2. I basically have it at default otherwise. I deleted the HUD, so if it says underscore HUD, you can press the garbage and delete it so it doesn't show up. And then there's my SD card. See how I put F as storage / BCF? That's the name of my SD card. I found that in the RAR app. And then in advanced, I'm just using performance and startup selection aggressive, as usual. I'm naming this container Witcher 1 because you have to know that container is Witcher 1. That's where you installed the game. That's the only container you can launch the game out of. It's not going to work if you create a new container, even if it leads to the same place. So you got to make sure it's in that container. But once it is, you can just keep that container as your Witcher 1 container, and then launch from the shortcuts. So here we go again, launching the game, but this time in 1920 by 1080. As you can see, it's full screen this time. But still, you're unable to click anything, right? You might be trying to press buttons. Usually Winlator Frost will just automatically map the buttons out. But this one, it does not, because it doesn't have gamepad support. This game never had a gamepad option. It was 2007, it was too early, I guess, I'm not really sure. But it's an awesome game, and it actually works really well on a controller or a gamepad if you know how to map it. And I did a lot of experimentation to figure out how to map it, and it actually works really nice. You have to go to the input controls, and then you can select the mapping that I provided on the Reddit page. But if you don't have that yet and you just want to get past the intro screen, as you can see, this is actually when I was creating it, Witcher keyboard. You can map one button, which is the escape button. You can like map it to start. So if you press start right here and then click on ESC for escape, and then go back. This is just for testing, and then you can change it to that configuration. Now you can press start and you can skip that intro movie. Otherwise, you're stuck in that intro movie for a long time. It's a pretty long intro. But now I see you're at the home menu, so now you know, hey, it works. You can start a game, you can test it out. You can use your touchscreen to kind of move this mouse around, even if you didn't map it to the analog stick yet, like I did in my configuration. So there's multiple ways to do this. You could also get a USB-C mouse, so you could look up like on Amazon USB-C mouse, and then you could plug that into your USB-C port on your Retroid. You can also use the V mouse like I just did there, which is by holding select and start at the same time for 3 seconds, 3 or 4 seconds, and then this mouse shows up, and that's my left analog stick controlling that black mouse, and my right analog stick controls the little tiny mouse. So that gives you a sort of like a version of keyboard support, or mouse support, I guess you could say. No keyboard, but there's a mouse. There's a built-in virtual mouse in the Retroid Android devices, and this is an example of what it might look like. But there's weird, it's like these two mice that show up, and you can kind of use both or one. One kind of follows the other if you press A on it. So here's the options. So you're going to click the right option, keyboard plus mouse. We'll demo the mouse option later, but that's an isometric view. It's kind of from up top, and it's like all using the mouse, and you click on an enemy and he runs over there and hits them. Versus the keyboard mouse, which is more like over the shoulder, like the other Witcher games that you're used to probably seeing. So I'd recommend the keyboard and mouse, and that's what my config is working for. But I will demo the mouse version at some point in this video just to show you what it looks like. It's kind of cool looking. It's like you're seeing it from above. Some people like that style of game, and for them they'd probably enjoy that. But it all works the same. This config will work the same. Or you could just use virtual mouse, and then you could just play the mouse version, because all you need is the mouse for that version, I'm pretty sure. I think there are still buttons required in that version, actually. You might have to map some buttons yourself. But yeah, as you can see, the game does run well, and this is the keyboard and mouse camera angle. So let me just get rid. So okay, so see, it's kind of awkward using the virtual mouse, and the sensitivity is super high. Like the camera angle moves way too quickly using the virtual mouse, so you have to turn it down. In the virtual mouse settings, you can turn down the sensitivity, and you can also turn down the mouse sensitivity in the in-game settings. Here's a better way to do it though. So if you go to input controls, and then go to import profile, and then open profile. Oops. There we go, open, and then you're going to go to your downloads or wherever you kept that file that you downloaded off Reddit, the one I made, witcher1keyboard.icp. Just click on the file and it'll import it, and now you have gamepad support. Pretty cool, right? See how 24 bindings? I already mapped all these things out. So if you want to map them yourself, you can also just look at this right here. I'll slow down and scroll through it so you can see all the things I mapped to. But this basically gives you full gamepad support with this game, which is kind of unheard of. I couldn't find anything online with people having gamepad support, but here it is, fully accessible for you. If you're on Retroid or Android and you're on a controller, you can use this. So basically I just mapped all the essential functions of the game to the buttons, all the buttons on the Retroid Pocket 5 or Retroid Pocket Flip 2. Every single button is used and does something. So there's 24 bindings in total. So you just need to have that there, and then once you're in the game, you have to open it up. Every time you open the game, like once you're in the Winlator container, you have to swipe right from the left side of the screen. First, let's just launch the game. But it's something you can do while the game's launching. Like when you're waiting for the game to load up, just swipe right from the left side of the screen to bring up the in-game Winlator menu. Then go to input controls, and you'll see it starts out as disabled, but you need to change it to Witcher 1 keyboard. As you can see, I have two of them here because I just imported a second one, so I'm just going to delete that second one. If you go in here and select it, you can just press the garbage and delete it. But then yeah, just make sure it doesn't say disabled. Make sure it says Witcher 1 keyboard, and then press OK. And now the mouse, that little mouse, is being controlled with the right analog stick. How cool is that? And you can select, like you can do a click, like clicking the mouse with the right bumper. So if I go and click on this, it'll work. Like it works like just like a mouse does. So I click with the right bumper on options. And then here are, and by the way, here are the important in-game options to change. If you scroll down here, you can use 2 fingers to scroll on the screen, and you go to camera sensitivity. Yours will start out at 5. You want to change it down to 1, or else it's just a little too sensitive and moves around too much, too fast. But if you want higher sensitivity, you can too. Just make sure you press save after you change, or you press accept after you change settings. Make sure the resolution says 1280 by 720. Once you change it to 1280 by 720, then you can change your container resolution to match that to 1280 by 720 as well. The gamma I turn up a little bit, it makes it a little more brighter, and then you press accept. That's optional. And then what you really should do is go to advanced, and then where it says settings, it might be on medium or something, or max, or high, but turn it down to low. That'll give you higher FPS. And then anisotropic filtering, turn to 4x. I think it'll start you out at 8x, but turn it down to 4x. And then press accept. So those are all the options that you need to change for in-game settings, and then I'll show you a little demo of what it looks like. I'll load up one of my saves, and I'll also show you the controls, like what all these buttons do and how they work on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 or Retroid Pocket 5, and which controls do what, because I mean, you could just download my config and test it out yourself. And at this point in the video, you could just stop watching the video. It's just going to be a bunch of demos and like kind of tutorial of how to use these controls and kind of just showing off the game a little bit. But yeah, basically you have the whole tutorial in these first 14 minutes. You can be done and you can go do this on your own, and you can just test out the controls and figure them out the way I mapped them. But I'm just going to explain them here. So with the right analog stick, you can change a camera angle just like you would in any game, and then the left analog stick is for movement. So it's pretty straightforward. Feels just like, you know, The Witcher would feel on a gamepad. By pressing A, you open up that quest menu. By pressing B, you open up your inventory. And then I think it's X or Y. I think it's Y. You open up the skills tab. The hero. It's called the hero tab. And then let's see what's next. I think we want to demo some combat. Yeah, a lot of the buttons have to do with combat, and there's no combat to do over here. So I have to go into the crypt over here where I know there's some demons to fight. And if you select on something by pressing the right bumper and then using the right analog stick to move the mouse around, it's basically just like a mouse. Even in the game, like in the center of the screen, you could say the little cursor is there, and then you press on the right bumper to select things. Like I just pointed the cursor at the door and then pressed the right bumper to open the door. Just like in the PC, you'd select with your cursor on the door and then just click on it to open it. Like on this magic, I'm clicking on it with the right bumper, and then I select using the right analog stick like a mouse, perform magic ritual. I'm sorry it's a little dark in here. This is like, I don't have a torch yet. I'm still in the beginning of the game, or the cat spell, so I can't see anything, but I'm just kind of running around. I'm trying to find some orcs or some, you know, little goblins or ghouls to fight. I know there's some like over here, just to show you that how the combat works. Basically, you point the cursor at the enemy, and then you press right bumper, like click on them, and you'll hit them. You'll start hitting them. And then like, just press it once and then wait, and you'll see that little purple symbol, and then it'll turn into an orange one. And then you hit it once more again once it turns orange. So you hit it, and then once it turns orange, you hit it again. And if you can do that multiple times, you can get those combos where it becomes faster and faster. And that's kind of how you defeat enemies. But right there, I switched from a fast mode to like a powerful mode. And the way you do that is like left. It's got L3. It's like clicking in the left analog stick and clicking in the right analog stick. And then you use the up, down, left, and right D-pad to switch between magic, spells, and weapons. So just mess around with the right D-pad, up D-pad, down D-pad, left D-pad. And the way I'm casting spells, by the way, is left bumper. So right bumper is to use your melee weapon, left bumper is spells. So I cast those few spells using the right bumper. But when I do D-pad up, for example, it switches my spell from the flame spell to the pushback spell to push enemies back. So up on D-pad is how you switch the spells. It'll just scroll through your spells. And then down on D-pad scrolls through your weapon types. So all the weapons you have, like the axe, the dagger, the sword, you'll scroll through with D-pad down. And then D-pad right, if you click it, it's the steel sword. So here I'm clicking D-pad down, so I click to the dagger, see? But the two swords, like his two main swords, are D-pad right and left. So D-pad right is the steel sword like this, and then the D-pad left is a silver sword, but I don't have that yet, so it's not doing anything. But if you click D-pad right like over and over, you'll switch between the different combat modes as well. So one combat mode is called group, another combat mode is called fast, and then another combat mode is called strong, I think. So you can switch through these by using the D-pad right, I think it is, or D-pad left, and then you can also switch through them by clicking in the left analog stick, clicking in the right analog stick. Oh, and by the way, the map is select, so just press select to access the map. Then you move around your cursor and select different objectives. But what I was saying about the combat modes is you can select them with the D-pad, or you can... Oh, and then right trigger, by the way, is how you save. And press start to go into this menu. You can also save from the start menu. So if you do right trigger, you'll do a quick save. So quick saves are cool. You can use right trigger for that. Left trigger actually, what does the left trigger do? Left trigger switches you into group combat mode. So see this group of people here? If I press the left trigger, I would go into that combat mode where I can kind of quickly take out enemies in a group. Yeah, so right analog stick, click it in to be into fast combat mode. Left analog stick, click it in to be into slow, strong combat mode. And left trigger L2 to be into group combat mode. Which I should have used here, but I didn't. I'm using fast. But the different combat modes you can click around and mess with the 2 analog sticks and the left trigger. Yeah, the combat's really interesting in this game. It's really different. Like, if you haven't played this game before, it'll be totally new to you. You probably had never experienced anything like this. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to. It's really interesting. It's all about stringing together combos, and like, you click it once and it turns purple, the cursor turns purple, then you wait for it to turn orange, and then you click it again when it's orange. And if you can do that over and over again, you get these awesome combos where you just go faster and faster and the enemies get killed. But it takes like this timing and this patience, which is not just a standard hack and slash. It's pretty interesting. If you try to do just like spamming it, it won't really work. You'll get killed. So it's pretty challenging combat. And there's a lot of dialogue in this game. Like, you can see me talking to the dwarf. There's a lot of this. There's a lot. It's like very lore heavy. It's very story heavy. But it's really cool. Like, if you're into the Witcher game and you've never played the first Witcher game, like you're into Witcher 3, the really popular one, but you've never played Witcher 1, this one, you should try it. You should try playing it. It works really well in the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, the Retroid Pocket 5, 60 FPS. I mean, it's a more simple looking game, and the settings are on low. And it's a very different game in terms of the controls and like how it all has to be mapped out with keyboard and mouse. It's like a whole different experience. You know, it's like the first Witcher though. Like, in terms of the story, it's like you get to learn about Geralt and like his whole like past and like all the things that led up to The Witcher 2 and all the things that led up to The Witcher 3. So if you like a story and you like learning about the character development and everything and the plot and like what the plot of The Witcher 3 is kind of growing out of, and the plot of Witcher 2 is growing out of this. So they actually go in order. So you play these games in order, start with this one, then move on to Witcher 2, then move on to Witcher 3 if you want to know the full story, if you want to experience the full story. And this is open world. Like, as you can see, like, I've run around quite a bit. I ran around and found that dwarf and fought those guys for him, and now I'm running to this little chapel over here because I know I have to talk to the Reverend. And there's a quest that I have to do with like a Reverend, and he gives me like a ring, and then I bring the ring to the guards, and then the guards tell me to go to the crypt. That's how I got the key to the crypt, where I can go fight those demons. Alright, here's the Reverend right here. He's praying to like a coffin or something, or like a stone. And then you talk to him, and he's like, people think that you're like some sort of demon or something, but, you know, I don't know. So here is the other game mode, where it's like adventure or something, like new adventure. It's not the main plot. That other one I was playing was the main plot. And in this game mode, I don't know, you can kind of like choose these different scenarios that you start in, and you have a bunch of stats that you start with. And I think you start with both swords. Yeah, you start with both the silver. You don't have to unlock the silver sword. So steel and silver comes with, and you get to interact with different characters in different areas. I'm not really sure. I haven't really played this modes very much, but I started this in the mouse mode. So you get to see a different camera angle here. See how it's isometric? And it's almost like a World of Warcraft type of style. So you can play like that. If you're interested in that, it works on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. You can do this. You just use the mouse. So you just click around, like you click to those like wolves, and he walks over there and hits them. But it's the same like combo, like you have to wait until it turns into a orange thing or whatever. I couldn't really get the hang of it. I don't know. During this demo, I didn't really know what I was doing. So sorry if this doesn't look. I don't know like how to kill these wolves. I think I just wasn't lining up the combos correctly. See how you click on the ground, you see like these circles? And that's going to make Geralt walk over there. And see, I can still use magical spells by right-clicking, I believe. Or using the left bumper. Yeah, you can kind of like hold it down and move him around, I'm pretty sure, is what I'm doing here. I recorded this not too long ago, but yeah, like I'm just showing you that this is an option. So when you start a new game, like you can always change this. I think you can change it in the options too. So even if you're in the middle of a game, you can change it to this. You can play the main plot like this as well. And you can also play the adventure modes with the normal camera angle, like the camera that I had before, which is the keyboard and mouse mode. Mouse and keyboard. This is just the only mouse. There's no keyboard in this mode, apparently. So, but I pressed Q and A and it did change the weapon. So I think there is some keyboard. I don't really know. It's just a different style. Like you're dragging around the mouse to move him. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little different. And I was wondering why CD Projekt Red was calling this game the Enhanced Edition. And then after playing through some of these cutscenes and selecting the correct options for dialogue, I understand what they enhanced. I think this game is beautiful and has a lot of enhancements. It's also one of these games where you're genuinely charmed by the aesthetics, and you know, the game says something to you. It makes you feel a certain way. It's not all about realism. It's also about atmosphere. It's also about charm, and it's also about just a general emotion that a game will provoke.
Witcher?
So now I'm going to return to the main plot with the other camera angle, and we're just going to do some, you know, just some gameplay demo for the rest of this portion of the video. It'll just be full game audio and me playing through some of the main storyline.
Not enough pay.
Does...
Of course.
I don't believe you.
I'll come back.
I'm sleepy. Does the Reverend know you're here?
Of course.
I don't believe you. The Reverend said, worship...
The Reverend said... Deadens?
Yeah. Commander told me to clear the crypt down...
Deadens, you say?
Please, sir.
I'm a Witcher.
Sure, sir. I'll tell him what I know, which will be little, and I don't have much...
See you later.
Not enough pay for this.
Seems the contents of that bottle caused the woman's death. The ghouls came for her remains.
So I want to talk about the detail settings and show you guys right now what high detail looks like. So this is low detail. This is what I've been playing on. Notice how there's really no blades of grass. You just see like a green color on the ground, and there's not that many trees. But if I turn on high detail from the in-game settings, and I turn the resolution up to 1920 by 1080p as well, this is what high detail on the max resolution on the device will look like on this game. You'll have much more green grass, like little blades of grass all over the place, and just more detail in the textures of the environment and the character. You may notice like the hair might be a little more detailed. So if you're into graphical beauty and graphical detail, and you don't really value FPS, and you don't really value smoothness or speed of gameplay, and you just want to have a beautiful Witcher 1 experience, this game is very beautiful, and you can have more detail if you want. You will not get 60 FPS while you're running around. You'll get about 30, maybe 35, and then in combat as well you get around 30 to 35, 32. And in cutscenes, sometimes if they're kind of like demanding movies, you'll get as low as 12 to 15 to 20. So yeah, that's the maximum sort of like maxed out in-game detail and resolution for this device and this game. And after this we'll do medium, because so far only we've been showing is low, and we haven't really shown high or medium, but this is high. So notice that sometimes the environment needs to load in. But in general, this looks really cool, and you have like more of a forest vibe of this area, whereas it seemed like it was more of like a field. It just seemed more desolate before, and now it seems more lush. So you can tell how much the game actually excludes from view when you put the settings to low. You're not seeing a lot of the environment. So if you want to see more of the environment and more of the trees and stuff, then put it to high, and you will enjoy it more that way, if that's what you're into. So let's do a little demo with full audio, and we're gonna get some combat up here.
Leave me be. I won't.
Oh, you'll give it up, Gramps.
Or what?
A Witcher! Kill him!
Not likely.
That formula needs
You're ours, Witcher. You should have left Salamandra alone. This bridge will be your grave.
Die, shit-eater!
You're dead.
Thank you.
Anytime. I know all too well what they're after. To use the stolen secrets, Salamandra needs equipment. Without it, the Witcher's mutagens are useless. They almost grabbed Kalkstein and his treasures. They almost succeeded at Kaer Morhen. Almost makes a huge difference. They were here for me.
Had you known?
No.
I'm not surprised at your answer. Visit my shop in
Farewell.
So here's the game with medium detail settings. So this is sort of a nice balance between high and low. You can still get grass and blades of grass. Not as many trees, but and as you're walking around, you can get 50 to 60 FPS. which is nice. And then in combat, let's see what happens. Or in the cutscenes. Same exact cutscene we had as before.
A witcher.
So this one... and dropped to 12 for a second, but really it's more around 30,
You should have left Salamander
30 to
alone.
40, looks
This
like.
bridge will be your grave.
Which is nice. And then in combat, looks like we have... like 25 to 30, 25 to 40. It was a pretty big range. Mostly around 30, I think.
I'll kill you.
Anytime. I know all too well what they're after. They were here for me.
Had you known this,
No.
I'm not visit.
Farewell.
That formula needs rethinking.
Shouldn't have.
What are you going?
The old man come.
I wouldn't if I were you.
I
know.
They're moving me to Millgate tomorrow. That's where I'll stand.
So we'll do a little bit more open world exploration gameplay demo with medium settings. Again, this is 1280 by 720p with medium graphics in-game settings. And this is kind of the happy medium between the 35 FPS and the 60 FPS. As you can see here, I'm getting about 40, 45, 44, 46. And it's not as smooth as the low settings, but it's also not as choppy as the higher settings. And you get more of the environment, kind of a happy medium. There's more of this grass growing out of the ground, a little bit more trees. And I mean, some of these buildings, like on the inside, they look a lot better with medium settings. Because with low settings, if you go inside the buildings, it looks like extremely plain. There's not a lot of detail at all on the walls and floor and like environmental objects. So this is a good setting. I think this is like right in between, you know, just like kind of like a good like Xbox 360, like what you'd expect if you were to play this game on Xbox 360 or something like that, what you would see. But this game was never released on Xbox 360. It was only released on PC, so. But anyways, it's kind of equivalent to like what you might see on an Xbox 360 game. And so it's nice. It's a nice way to play the game. This is sort of up to you. You can customize the in-game settings however you want. You can change the resolution to whatever you want. And that's what will change the FPS. So we'll do a little more open world exploration just to show you. And then we'll end this portion and end this Witcher 1 demo and installation tutorial.
What makes them better?
Shut up! The order will defeat them.
Or not.
I shudder to think where the stall-keeper finds her meat.
Speak quick. I want to enter the city.
Only Knights of the Order hold passes.
May I have you?
So I've been playing with the settings on this game, and I found a setting that I think works for me. If you change the DXVK version to 2.6 and frame rate uncapped and max device memory uncapped, you can get really good performance. So you might as well change the DXVK wrapper to that. I'm still using the same turnip driver, 25.2.0 with the max device memory on 4096. And I checked the option that says sync every frame. And also, when we get to the in-game settings, I did a mixture of basically all low settings, but I set the grass quality to high. So everything's low except for the grass quality and high, so that gives you a really nice balance of the high FPS of having all the textures on low or off, but then you still have all the grass and all the bushes and all the trees that show up. Because if you go all the way to the left to low, to none on the grass quality, you basically don't get any grass. It's all 2D grass, it's all flat. That allows you to get 60 FPS, but this setup allows you to get grass and trees and get around 50 to 60 FPS. So it's a little bit lower, but it's still really good. So here you can see all my settings are on low, but the grass quality is on high. So I recommend trying this out. Usually it's on off if you have the highest FPS setting, like I showed you before, but I recommend actually changing it to high and changing the DXVK wrapper to 2.6 after doing some testing. And yeah, this I think is probably the most ideal setting and most perfect balance of performance and quality for the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. So I'll do a little gameplay demo with this setting.
Witcher?
You must be bored.
Well, in truth, the valley provides little in the way of diversion for the civilized, and my illusory boy is no longer as entertaining as he used to be.
You could get...
I said diversion for the civilized. If you lack words at the moment, I could request something more pertinent to the witcherly profession.
Materials?
I wish to study the wolves that...
Fine.
That's kind. You're much...
See you.
Go and speak with the witches. Sway them to my point of view. I'm a professional, I know, and I'm very good at...
That I do. To let in. You don't know. Take care. What is it?
I merely wish...
All right.
Master, it will be... I know...
And no one...
It was...
I need to...
Hey, Wolf.
Lambert.
Vesemir and
I know.
making sure
Our guest.
some pump.
You know.
Not interested.
I hope that.
Didn't have it in any case.
So that about wraps it up for this video. Take care and see you next time. Alright, so the next portion of this video is going to be The Witcher 2. So we're just going on GOG again and scrolling through The Witcher until we find it right there, The Assassins of Kings. And this is also an enhanced edition, just like the first game. But this one is quite different than the first. It's much more detailed, has a way different combat system. It's more similar to The Witcher 3 in both of those regards. And it has gamepad support, so it's pretty easy to set up on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 or Retroid Pocket 5. It's slightly more demanding. It's somewhere in between The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 3. On the recommendation it says 2 to 3 gigabytes of RAM, which is no problem because we have 8 gigabytes of RAM on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And for this, we're going to be using the same exact emulator as the first game, so it's called Winlator Frost. And we're using the same exact version of 10.1 V2. So I know the newest one is V3, but we're not using that. We're using V2. It has compatibility, has better compatibility than V3. It doesn't seem like these games will work on V3. I haven't been able to get them to work, but on V2 they work. So in V2, we're just going to make a container to install the GOG game. You have to install it within a container, so make sure your container is named Witcher 2 or something like that, you'll remember. And then set the box 64 preset to performance and startup selection to normal load all services. That's very important. If you don't do normal, it won't install properly. It won't install the .NET 4.0 unless you have it on normal startup selection. So once you've already downloaded the game from GOG, you'll have the setup files, which is the orange one at the bottom. Double click that. It'll ask you what language you want it in. Just say English, okay. Just like the first game, it's the same exact thing. You have to press options because it's going to download it. It's going to install it to your internal storage, but you want to change that to your SD card. So you can browse and find your F drive or whatever drive your SD card is and select a folder there, maybe Witcher 2 folder. And then that's it. You press OK and you press yes, I have read the EULA and agree to these terms and conditions, and then you can install it. So I'm just going to fast forward through the whole installation process. Basically, this blue bar is going to fill up all the way. You just have to wait. It might take 30 minutes or so. And when it's done, you'll get this option to launch. And it does have some funky stuff, kind of like The Witcher 1, but a little bit different. There's this weird black box that shows up that blocks you from being able to select launch game. But usually there's a window here where it says like options, launch game, that sort of thing. And it's saying right here that the video settings have been adjusted to the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, and I said okay. So the detail settings, in other words. But you're going to get this sort of like configurator window, and this is important. If you want to get high FPS, click on Show Advanced Options, check that box off, and then you'll get the configuration tool, and here you can adjust all the detail. So if you take a look at what's here right now, it adjusted this to the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 to try to get like a normalized, balanced performance with HD detail and graphics. But I'm going to set them all to the lowest settings so that texture downscaling is on high, actually, because that's going to downscale the textures to make it easier for the game to run so you can get a higher FPS. Texture memory size, you can do very small. Shadow quality, you can do low. Just set everything to low at this point. The first one you do high, and then the other ones are low or minimal or off or disabled. Just go through each one and just turn it off. You can copy exactly what I do here for the highest FPS. So no matter what resolution you have it at, you're going to get the highest FPS possible because the device is not working hard to create advanced textures. Doing this will make the game look a little more simple and not as detailed, but it'll make the game smoother and faster. So it depends on what you want. We'll go through medium settings and higher detail settings as well. For medium detail, high detail, low detail at different resolutions. We can demo each one and kind of show you what they look like. But the lowest FPS would be like high detail at a high resolution, right? And then highest FPS would be like low detail at a low resolution. So what we're going to do when we start this demo right here, we're going to do all low detail, but we're going to do a medium resolution. And by medium resolution, I'm doing 1280 by 720. It's a good resolution to play the game at. It's kind of in between high res and a low res. It's like a 720 pixel, you know. But you see this black window here. That's why you can't even press the launch game. And that's a problem. That's the normal launcher. But there is an alternative launcher that launches you straight into the game without this. And then there's an alternative launcher for the configurator that I'm going to show you how to access right now. You're basically just going to go back to find the game directory. It's going to be called The Witcher 2, and you're going to see this. And then you're going to go to bin, it's a folder. And now you have the configurator.exe right here. Now if you double click that, you get the same sort of like detail levels that you can adjust. After you adjust them, just press OK at the bottom, whatever you want, and you can always just change them there. You can even make this into a shortcut if you want, so you can access it quickly from the main menu of Winlator. But anyways, that's how you access your detail settings. So once you have the details you want, then you scroll down from the configurator. You're going to see a bunch of other folders, but then you're going to see witcher2.exe. Now this is how you launch the game. This will work without so we're going to do two-finger tap. We're going to do create a shortcut, so you can do that from the main Winlator app as well, the main Winlator menu. But yeah, you can launch the game from here without having to get stuck with that black window that blocks your access. So once you have that as a shortcut, you can just click play on it, and there'll be a black screen here for a while. I skipped through it, but it does take a while to load up this game. So be patient when you're launching it. It'll be black for a while. And so since this game has a movie, you can choose whether you want to watch this. It's a very high resolution, very impressive movie that runs at a really high FPS. So it's cool to watch. It's probably worth watching at least once to know, because it does preface the story of the game. But I'm going to skip through it here and go right into the game, because that could take a while. So first thing you're going to do is go to options and then go to control options and then change this setting right here from keyboard to gamepad. Make sure you do this before you start playing, otherwise the controls won't work. But as long as you switch it to gamepad, it's going to be automatically mapped to the Retroid controller. and it'll work. You don't have to do anything fancy for this. You would press new game. I'm pressing load game since I've already played a little bit. So just to remind you again, there's going to be, throughout this video, if you look where it says Winlator Frost 10.1 V2 in the top left corner, I put a little thing that says low detail 1280 by 720p to tell you the detail level and the resolution I'm running at the time of recording. So I'll change it throughout the demo. You can see different detail levels and different resolutions. But this is what I decided is pretty much the best way to run the game in the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, my favorite way to run. It runs at around 30, and it will often be above 30. It'll rarely drop below 30. Sometimes it'll go up into the 40s as well. So it's a really good, pretty much, 30 FPS setup. 30 plus, let's say, 30 to 40 FPS. And the detail is not very terrible. I think it looks really good. It looks just like an Xbox 360 game, which is what this game was released on. So, but we're playing the PC version, which allows you to make it more upscaled, but I actually really like the sort of low detail, medium resolution.
Don't go back! They're traitors! Take no prisoners! Blasphemers! Onward! Attack! Blasphemers! They're no knights! They're traitors! Take no prisoners!
So now we're going back to the configurator in our bin folder, and we're going to change all these settings to extremely high detail levels. So I'm going to do no texture downscaling, which means the texture is fully upscaled. Very large memory size, shadow quality. Oops, I clicked the wrong one. Shadow quality is ultra. Just turn up everything. Number of shadow lights, ultra. LOD distance, far. Bloom, enabled. I'm going to enable all these. So this is for like if you want super high detail, graphical detail. It doesn't look all that different in my opinion. Definitely there's more detail and like kind of the textures on some of the characters' outfits and stuff will look better. And some of the environmental textures will look better. The game will look better overall. But it's not that much of a difference that I think it's worth dropping the FPS, because it will drop the FPS. It'll usually be under 30 and sometimes as low as like 15 or 12. Especially during cutscenes, I think it's around 15. But it's I think it's like in the 20s usually if you're playing. But if you're in very demanding areas, even gameplay can be 18, 17. Depends on what's going on in that area. But these are the settings. You can copy these if you want high detail and low FPS. So we're going to go in and demo that again. So I'm just going to launch from the Witcher 2 exe, or you can launch from the shortcut that we made to that same launcher. And I'm skipping through the loading. So here it is. This is high detail. And we'll demo this in a few different areas to show you how much the performance drop can be. And notice in the top left corner, it actually says high detail 1280 by 720p. I put that in there. That's not usually there. Just to remind you what demo you're watching right now.
You have just become the most titled Witcher in the world. And the wealthiest. See, Vernon?
Lucky you did.
I saw Scoia'tael on the river.
Where? How many? What colors did they wear?
Plough the elves.
Scoia'tael. You're either I want to hear the rest.
Just so we're clear on this, I was not eaten, but Foltest is not some...
His Majesty, King of Tiberia, Pontar, Mahakam, and Sodden, Senior Protector of Bruges, summons Master Geralt to appear before him.
Tell him I'll be there shortly.
Sorry to intrude like this, milady, but the King...
We heard you.
A pleasant day to you, milady. Witcher,
stupid war. Could have been such a beautiful morning.
A war can never be stupid when waged by your king.
A wise war is a contradiction, Triss.
Then maybe you know just how I should advise our lustful monarch.
Stop falling in love, sire no further bastards, and don't wage stupid wars.
Genius. You know, these bastards could vie for the throne in the future? Then we'd have an even more senseless conflict.
Which doesn't change the fact that...
I know. Baltest and the other northern monarchs are neither the smartest nor the most refined. But they're kings, one of whom we serve.
And I'll see Foltest is summoned, protect him if need be. But once the castle falls, we leave.
Did you dream of the Wild Hunt again?
Mm-hmm. I get the feeling that dream's important. Running frantically through the forest. The Wild Hunt. They're the last things I remember. I wake up and try to relive the dream and the memory.
So this is an extremely demanding scene. As you can see, in high detail settings, it does lower the FPS quite a bit. Like before we were maybe in the 20s, and now as I run over here, because of all of this sort of like, you know, tense in the background and everything that's going on here, it'll drop down to like 15, you know, or somewhere in the teens, 18, 17. Yeah, like 20 and then below 20. So depending on how demanding the area is that you're in, you'll get more slowdowns. But like if you just look at the gameplay and don't look at the FPS, you're seeing just a very high detail Witcher 2 gameplay in an area that, you know, is quite demanding. On the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, it's pretty impressive that it can even do this. So with this much detail, just don't expect high FPS. So now we're going to change the detail to low. So quickly, I just went through that fast forward. But this is what the same area looks like at the same save that I just made right here. I loaded it up with low detail settings. As you can see in the top left corner, it says low detail 1280 by 720. So we're still at the same resolution. So see, the difference is not that much. I mean, with the cutscenes, you can kind of see it when you look at him and when you look at her. There's a little bit less detail, right? But it's not bad. Like this detail adjustment is really not bad. It doesn't ruin the game in any way. This is why I recommend for most people, if you're going to play this on the Retroid, decrease the detail to the lowest setting, because it's not that much of a difference anyways. But like here, in even this extremely demanding area, it can't even hold 30, even with low detail, you see? It's like 25, 24, 23. But that's better than 15, 17, right? But yeah, it just goes to show really demanding areas are really hard to maintain FPS. And even there, it's dropping to 18, 19. So yeah, but it's a lot of temps in the background. It's just a lot for it to load up. I don't know. It's just, but you'll see like in an area that we're going to go to next, where we're going to do some combat, the FPS actually holds up pretty well. So it's not necessarily about combat, it's about what's in the background and where you are and what the scenery is. That's what tends to slow down FPS the most. Combat in this game actually doesn't slow it down all that much. So with these same exact settings, we're going to go into some pretty extensive combat. But there is some container settings that I adjusted that I'll show you soon that help it to maintain a good FPS. So I recommend doing no limit on the DXVK wrapper, device memory, and frame rate. Do not limit either of those things. You can limit the driver memory to 4,000 megabytes or 4 gigabytes. That's actually necessary to launch the game, but with a DX wrapper, which is like the DirectX, right here, I'll show you. The DX wrapper that I'm using, you see how frame rate is 0 uncapped and max device memory is 0 no limit? Try doing this. Use those settings with this game particularly. So here we're still at low detail, 1280 by 720. This is going to be the combat where I show you the FPS. So as you can see, where there's not a lot of stuff in the scenery, it's just a brick wall, you run it at like 45 FPS. And even during combat, look at the FPS, it's staying around 41. So it's not necessarily about combat. That's not really what lowers the FPS in this game. A lot of games is like when you get into combat, the FPS will lower. For this game, it's just about the scenery mostly. And the scenery is pretty beautiful in this game, so it makes sense. Like the stuff in the background can be really pretty. So this is one of those games where it's worth kind of like stopping and looking and enjoying. It's even there, when I saw that town in the background, it dropped to 29. That thing to the left of me right now. But yeah, combat, it's pretty stable. It's pretty good. But this I think is the best setup pretty much. If you want like around 30 FPS, very stable with a good amount of detail. I mean, even the low detail settings, I think it still looks plenty detailed. It looks better than PS2. I mean, it just looks like Xbox 360 basically. Yeah, it just doesn't look like PC, which is fine. It's basically like having an Xbox 360 emulator on handheld, which is awesome. That's what I kind of want, you know. So the combat in this game is pretty different from Witcher 1. It doesn't have the same combo, like wait and do these combos, like click it once, wait until it turns orange, click it again, this whole like patience thing and timing. It's not like that. It's more hack and slash. It's more like The Witcher 3. It's more like you know, Castlevania or Legend of Zelda or something, like where it's just sort of a generic, like, you know, strong attack with Y, quick weak attack with X, and roll with A, and then magic spell with B. You can change your magic spells. There's multiple different magic spells. There's the magic spell right there. I like the flame one, and I like the one where it pushes them back. But yeah, the sword is also really fun too. There's two different swords. Similar to The Witcher 1, the way I configured those controls in this game, you do D-pad to the left and D-pad to the right to switch between the steel sword and the silver sword. So you use the steel sword when you're fighting humans and use the silver sword when you're fighting monsters. So right now he's using a steel sword. And you can change your like clothing if you go to the inventory start menu. You can take off your shirt and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, the combat does feel good. It feels nice. I'm not dissing the combat by calling it hack and slash. That's not a negative thing. I actually enjoy the heck out of hack and slashes. The combat in Witcher 1's just unique, whereas like I don't even know what to compare that to. But then, and it does take some getting used to. But this is like, you'll already know exactly what you're doing when you start this game up and you play the combat. It's like very familiar. A lot of games operate like this. And it's a, you know, tried and true formula. It works. You can block, you can guard, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. There's like probably other stuff that you unlock later on. I don't know. I haven't really played through this game before, so I've actually never played any of the Witcher games. This is the first time for all three for me. So. It's a brand new experience, but yeah, this like I'm not like struggling to learn this one. It's nothing new. It's very similar. Here you can see the low detail a little bit. Sometimes it's like their armor or their clothing, like you can see his clothing too. It looks low detail, like you can tell. Depends on like the lighting and stuff. There's certain moments where it shows more than others. His skin looks pretty low detail too with his shirt off. Looks pretty, just kind of blurry or fuzzy. His skin almost looks like PS2 graphics, and that guy's shirt looked like PS2 graphics, the king's clothes. But otherwise, you know, and the texture of the brick on the wall looks pretty, I mean, that's, I feel like Xbox 360 had like really low textures on walls and stuff. I'm used to that. I've played on like Xbox 360 quite a bit, and this like looks kind of like what you'd expect. Yeah, the combat, you feel really powerful with the combat. You're just storming through enemies. It's a really nice beginning part of the game that they let you play through, where he's like recalling all these events. It's pretty cool. There's even like a scene with a dragon. I'll show that soon. And this is, just so you know, this is all the beginning of the game. This is like before the game really even starts. This is like some sort of dream or some memory that he's recalling, like from like a jail cell. So yeah, as you can see the scenery there, you see how nice this game looks? I mean, like the stuff in the background is insane. Like the mountains and the cities and the cathedrals and stuff. It's a beautiful game. It's a gorgeous game. This, I think, is pretty underrated. I mean, like, all these games are rated pretty well. I'm not saying that they've gotten bad reviews. All the Witcher games have gotten great reviews. But I feel like this game just doesn't get a lot of attention because it was overshadowed by a lot of other games that came out around this time. You know. But, like, I think it's 2011. So a lot of good games came out around this time. And The Witcher 2 just, I don't know, just got overshadowed by other ones. Didn't get that much attention. Really cool though. Witcher 3 got all the attention that it deserved, for sure. But Witcher 2 didn't really. Witcher 1, I don't think, really deserved that much attention. It was good, but you know, Witcher 1 is. It's just more of a simple game, and it's kind of clanky. It's kind of janky, kind of clunky. You know, whatever you want to call it. It's not that smooth of an experience. This game feels very smooth. This game feels AAA. It feels like a premium game, like. You know, just like a mainline Xbox 360 release. All the games have amazing storylines, amazing plots, and lots of cutscenes as well. So that's a factor that does not go away. So yeah, here's the jail cell that he's sitting in, and he's recalling the events with this guy who's questioning him. So depending on the dialogue, you'll get like different places that you'll go. And it'll just load up into different levels, basically. But this one's really cool. I'm gonna let this one play with full volume so you can experience it. And the cinematic aspect of this game is pretty awesome so far.
As you, but you know, in the monitor.
Cross, quickly.
Protect the king!
Dragon! Take cover! To the hoardings!
Protect the king! Run for the hoarding! Give my leg for a heavy crossbow right now!
It's a dragon! I can't believe it!
Marigold, stop admiring it and do something!
It's not that simple!
Before the brute turns my army to cinder!
Witcher, how do you fight something like that?
You don't. You run.
The gate! You're at the gate!
We've got to get to the town. We might stand a chance.
Is it true you witches don't hunt dragons? This one doesn't seem to know.
Do you want me to go over and tell him?
No idea.
Back up! I'll open the gate! Quickly! Teleport myself, but not you. Run.
Triss! The bridge is burning! Quickly, this way! Plowing drag.
The fighting.
Forget. Full test passed.
We might have beast. Well.
His Majesty King Fulton.
Arthur Tales, erstwhile.
Yeah.
And I
The
don't You may not
aided.
Where?
The Solar. They're in the Solar.
What is this?
Holy man unharmed and the noble gets slapped.
seen assaults go awry, but the dragon topples them all.
Tops.
Tops what?
Mutant. Freak.
The world's in a whirl.
Damn nonsense. Geralt, you should know. Is it possible to tame a dragon?
Not as far as I know.
Then why is this reptile eating only mine, then?
Let's hope Merrick... The dragon's back! I can't... You saved my life again. Ask what you will of me, Witcher. Within reason, of course.
I need to leave, sire. I'd like Triss Merigold to come with me, if she wants.
Are you blind? She's enamored with you. You may leave, and none shall stop you. You have my word.
So when I first started demoing the game, when I first installed it, I was in this beginning area of the dream, and I had it on, I guess, medium detail. It was like the default, detail settings that it starts out with before changing anything in the configurator. And I had it on 1920 by 1080p, which is the highest resolution that this device provides. And I just thought I would record it to show you guys what it looks like. So this is like instead of high detail with medium resolution, this is high resolution with medium detail. So it looks really good. 1920 by 1080, it looks great. And the detail looks pretty normal. It runs like at around 15 to 20 FPS, seems like, at least in this area. So there's a little demo for you of another option. And I'll go through a lot of the different resolutions at this detail level. So if you don't ever mess with detail settings and you just leave them as they are, we call that medium detail. That's pretty much how the game comes. Like how the game, when it installs, it automatically configures to your device usually. And we're just calling that medium detail. So I'm going to go and test a bunch of different resolutions with this detail setup. Just pay attention to what the resolution says in the top left corner, medium next to medium detail, so you know which demo you're looking at. So for example right here, this is 1280 by 720 with medium detail. So like we haven't seen this yet. Even though I've been playing at this resolution, you have not seen medium detail with this resolution yet. We've only seen low detail and high detail. So medium detail is somewhere in between. It's like things don't look terrible, things don't look amazing, they just look good. And this resolution is good. So this you could call like medium detail, medium resolution. And this setup is around 20 to 30 FPS, seems like, at least in this area. There's not a lot of scenery in this area, so it might go lower than that if you're in a very demanding area. But that's another nice way to play it, basically, Medium detail, medium resolution. I like it. Looks good to me. I think low detail increases the FPS probably around by 10 if you compare to this at the same resolution. Lowering the detail is a good idea.
Up against the wall and shut your traps.
Toy.
So many.
And here's the same level of detail, which we're calling medium, with a slightly lower resolution, which is 960 by 544. So this one, I think, is around 30 FPS. And also looks pretty good, but you can definitely see it a little more pixelated, if you could call it that. but look, it's going up into 40, so it depends what's in the background. So 30 to 40. It's kind of like equivalent to low detail at 720p. This is a 540p. And with medium detail. So it's not too far off from the setting I recommend, but I think the setting I recommend looks better because it's more pixels with just lower detail on those pixels. So this is the same amount of detail, but actually there's less pixels. So it's kind of a difference. It's a different vibe, but you get this around the same FPS. And we will go even lower than this. So we'll demo 360p, I believe it is. Yeah, so this is 360p, or we call 640 by 360. And this is, slightly better. You can see the difference is not that much. It's like definitely more pixelated, and for some reason looks a little choppier for some reason. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend, taking the resolution this low. It just doesn't look as good. Even with medium detail, you can't even really see that detail that well, because there aren't enough pixels to display that level of detail. So, and yeah, it's pushing high 30s, 40s, even up to 50 sometimes. But it just doesn't look good to me. I wouldn't play anything at 360p on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. But just in case you were wondering what it looks like, even with the scenery, it's well above 30, so it does help the FPS. If you're only worried about speed, maybe you could use this. I'm not sure, but you could see the edges of Geralt are pixelated. It looks jagged. Things don't look smooth, they look pixelated. So that's not good. But anyways, here's that option. I really recommend my option, what most of this demo was, which was the 1280 by 720 at low detail. So I was curious, what would this game look like with low settings at 1920 by 1080, which is the max resolution for the device with the lowest texture settings. And I went to one of the most demanding areas that I could find in the beginning of the game, which is this forest here. And it doesn't perform terribly. When you're walking around, it's in the low 20s. But in this scene, you're only allowed to walk slowly, so it's easier for it to render. But this is an extremely demanding environment. It kind of depends on where you look. It's really beautiful to see the game in 1920 by 1080, and this is a valid way to play it. Even the cutscenes look better. And this is low detail, so this is like the lowest detail with the highest resolution. I really like playing it like this, and I might actually play it like this. I don't really care that the FPS isn't high. It's still perfectly playable. In combat, it will drop down to the teens sometimes, and I'll show that here.
Finish this. I await.
Ha! You're a man. You're just enough. This is not puppy sh.
Those. Triss, now.
On what?
That ought to discourage them.
Geralt, the spell's still working. Stay close.
What's happening?
Triss is spent, so no more butterflies. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Back to the boat?
There's even more of them that way. We must fight our way to a Flotsam.
Get your hands off my ass.
Who did you think it was?
I'm not a sack of flour or one of your commandos. I'm a woman.
I noticed.
I'm gonna be sick.
At least I'll die holding a lovely ass.
Not mine. I'll hold the spell.
Come on, let's go.
Stop shaking.
Are you all right? sons of bitches.
What's happening? All I see are your boots.
Where the hell is that trading post? I'm starting to think we'll make it. Wait. Barrier's waiting. Triss,
Be quick!
give me a bit more magic. Just a little. Geralt, kill them now!
I mean, just look how beautiful this game is. I mean, do you see the foliage? Even with low detail, I mean, it's gorgeous. And we're pretty stable at 20 FPS. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, I've been really enjoying playing through this game at 1920 by 1080 with low detail as well. This area is like a forest, and I just love that even with low detail settings, you still have all the grass, you still have all the foliage, and they actually just decrease the detail of the foliage itself. Like in the first Witcher game, if you turn on low detail, the like grass doesn't even show up. So this is cool that we can play a low detail at a pretty high resolution and really enjoy the visuals of the game and make it look a little bit more like a simple like PlayStation 2 maybe or something, like a console kind of. And I mean, just look around, like it's gorgeous. I mean, you see the FPS drop to 18, right? This is a very demanding town right here. And this is kind of a good place where we can test a little bit more some other like setups of other resolutions.
Wherever the Witcher goes.
Watch it, Witcher.
Come on! We've seen your likes before.
So I switched the resolution back to my generally recommended setting, which is low detail 1280 by 720, so you can see how well it handles this area. And as you can see, if you stand there still enough for a while, it'll get up to 30, but when you're running around and if you have the trees in the background, it'll be in the mid-20s, just kind of jumps around. And like I said, it's the scenery, it's the beautiful scenery of the game, the trees and all that. You know, that's what causes it to jump around a lot. If you go into like an alleyway of this town, it kind of stays in the 30s like it normally would, like we saw in the demo before. So pretty demanding area, and we're just under 30 FPS, but let's see what happens if we walk in this alleyway here. Or let's see, yeah, it'll come up a little bit. It's kind of like an average of 28 maybe. So yeah, when there's not much in the background, just brick walls and stuff, it stays a little bit higher towards 30. 32, 29. So it really just depends on what's in the background, but in general, yeah, you'll be able to handle these areas. It's not going to crash your game or anything like that. You might just have some FPS slowdowns, but if you just turn off the FPS counter and enjoy the game, you won't even notice it. So here is 320 by 200. So this is, I joke, is kind of like the Nintendo DS version of the game. Honestly, this is very close to the native resolution of the Nintendo DS, just a little bit higher. It's a little bit less than the 3DS, a little bit more than the DS. But pretty close to the DS. So, I mean, this is still not able to hold 30, right? Let's do some combat. I mean, it'll be at 30 sometimes. So that just goes to show that it doesn't really do much, the resolution, changing it. It's more about the detail. This is kind of fun too. Honestly, to have like a Nintendo DS Witcher game in your pocket on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 like this is pretty dope. I mean, have you ever seen someone playing the Witcher 2 DS? That's pretty amazing. It's like it's just a novelty, which I think is kind of actually fun. And it really does look like a high quality Nintendo DS game. Or somewhere in between a Nintendo DS and like a 3DS. But it's not like you're getting that much of a higher FPS. Like it's pretty much the same as like 1280 by 720. I'm not really even seeing much of a difference.
I think the stew's ready.
Quiet woman. Artist at work.
You might want to stir it.
I don't stir. I work the material.
Carry on like that and I'll slap you with a fine.
Boss, why the hell are we stacking and restacking this stuff?
Look at him, Corporal, sir.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen.
And there's a cool character abilities tab in this game where you unlock talents just like in Witcher 1. And then you can invest them into alchemy, magic, training, or swords play, whatever. Sword skill or something. And at first I only have training, you have to unlock the other ones, so I just have these ones right now. So looks like I can get parrying, dagger throwing. So that's pretty cool. Hardiness, arrow redirection. And let's see what the other one, fortitude, vigor regeneration is increased. So like, yeah, your character will get more beefier, more skilled, and more healthy as you grow up in The Witcher 2. So there's some progression and some skill building and upgrading. So I thought that was also a cool element. I haven't really got into the game much, so a lot of it's unupgraded. And then you have like character abilities where it shows your current stats, such as your armor level and stuff. Assassin abilities, intimidation, knowledge. So yeah, there's some cool stuff in the start menu. I also want to show you this setting, low detail 960 by 544. As you see, 34 FPS, 31 FPS in this area. So this one can hold 30 pretty well in the forest and all that. It drops down sometimes depending on what you're looking at. And in combat, sometimes it'll drop down to like 24 in this town. But 960 by 544 is a pretty good happy medium. I like to use that sometimes for Xbox 360 games. Yeah, it's nice. It's a good resolution as well. Somewhere in between low resolution and medium. This is basically 540p. It's like in between 360 and 720, right? The problem is the game configurator doesn't allow you to use 960 by 544. So even if you try to load up a container with 960 by 544 in Winlator and then run the game, it'll revert back to 320 by 200, I'm pretty sure, or something really low. So to get it to play at 960 by 544, you do have to do some workarounds. And just to show, I'll show you how to do that in a second. But just to show that this town really does demand a lot, even if you go into the forest behind the town, FPS goes up already. Look. That just goes to show how really demanding that town is, compared to like an average forest battle scene here, where I'm averaging 36, 35, 34, mid-30s. You know, that's, and then if you're walking around, it's probably around 40. So that's like 960 by 544 at low detail. I don't think we reviewed this setup yet, so it's worth showing here. It's a pretty good setup. It'll be like above 30 pretty much guaranteed if you're not in like a super demanding town or area that. And it's like, it's all good when you're in those towns, like you'll deal with a little FPS drop. It's not a big deal. Like you're not gonna hang on that town the whole game, you know what I'm saying? Like these are the parts of the game that you want high FPS for anyways, is the battles. So you can see like throughout this battle, like I'm getting like high 30s and I'm in a forest with plenty going on. Plenty of grass and trees and stuff. But you know, it's more close quarters, so yeah. So I just want to demo that. You know, see when he's walking around, it's around 40. That there is a good resolution right here too. So low detail 960 by 544, another one that I recommend. But it takes a little bit of tinkering to get it. You actually have to go into the user.ini file and open it up in a Winlator container and then edit the text within it to change the resolution there. That's the way you do it. And I'll walk you through that right now. So when you're in Winlator, just go into your container and edit it, and then you can change it to whatever resolution you want. As you can see, mine is at 960 by 544 because I was just doing that demo. But if there's a resolution that you want that you don't see here, like you want to go lower than 640 by 360, such as I did when I did 320 by 200, you can select custom, and then custom will allow you to type in the width and height right there to your desired resolution. So you can customize it completely to whatever you want. Just make sure the height is always less than the width because it's a widescreen device. But then there's a problem because the game sometimes won't well, when you go in the container it's too big or something, you know what I mean? Like you can't touch anything. So when you're browsing container, you have to edit it and go into a more manageable resolution like 960 or 1280. And then you can go and edit the then you can go in the container and edit the INI. So if you open up the container, you're going to want to edit the INI as well. So the way you do this is you go to Documents, this tab right here, and the Witcher 2 should show up right there. And then Config, and then user.ini. Another way to get there is you can go to the C drive, and then go to Users, and then go to X user, and then go to Documents, then the Witcher 2 is right there. It's the same documents. Then Config, then user.ini. Just double click it, and you'll see this show up. Then you're going to want to scroll all the way down through all of this. These are also a way you can edit your textures here. You can make it even less detailed if you want. It doesn't really raise the FPS anymore though. But there, like, just make sure you know where this is because you just type in the resolution there. I'm sure you just saw it. It says 960 by 544. So you can change that to 200 by 320 or whatever resolution you want. You can make it extremely low if you want, even lower than I had it. And even though the configurator app doesn't have 320 by, or sorry, doesn't have 540 by 960, you can just change it in here, and then if you launch the game, it'll work. So just make sure you save this config file after you change something. So if I change it to 200 by 320 right now, make sure you go up here, say File, Save, or else nothing's going to happen. It's just going to go back once you exit out. So now that it's saved, I can, you know, go to my container and then match that resolution. So go to Custom again, change width to 320, change height to 200. And that's it, man. That's how you change your custom resolutions. So that's all, folks. Now it's time to move on to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Alright, so now we're going to be downloading and installing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. So I have the wiki page open because we're going to have to talk about the versions of this game. It's very important because if you download the wrong version, it's not going to run well on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 because it has a Snapdragon 865 chipset. It's a kind of a weaker chipset, so you have to run the base game, which was released in 2015. And it was released on PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One. It's also known as the Game of the Year. This is a good one, but the Complete Edition that was released in 2022, it's for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X. That one is not good. Do not use that one. That's not going to run well on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. It's too advanced. They enhanced all the graphics. They overhauled everything. They made it really nice. And that's great if you have a high-powered PC, but we don't have that. We have a Retroid Pocket Flip 2, right? So you got to get the Game of the Year edition. That's the one I got. The Game of the Year is just the base game bundled with all the DLCs. So the game of the year is the same thing as the base game. It'll often be called GOTY, GOTY. Get the GOTY version because it's goated. Get the GOTY version. Don't get the complete edition. Alright, I can't make this more clear, because if you try to run the complete edition on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, you'll get about 10 FPS, 15 FPS max. The Game of the Year edition gives you about 30 FPS if you dial in your settings correctly, as I'm going to show you how to do. So now that we've been over that, we're going to talk about the emulators. First one we're going to do is Winlator Frost 10.1 V2, the same emulator we use for the other two Witcher games, just to keep it consistent, so you can use one emulator throughout all three games. Again, I will be going over other emulators after this, such as Gamehub and Eden emulator for Switch version of the game. You can run the base version through Switch, so I will show you how to do that later. So 10.1 V2 and Gamehub. So by the way, this game you can install either in Winlator or Gamehub, up to you. Just skip over to the Gamehub section, which is after this, if you want to do Gamehub. But you can watch this one right here if you want to do Winlator Frost. So I'm just going to uninstall my Winlator Frost so I can show you guys a fresh install. Basically, Winlator Frost is a great sort of just Windows emulator. It works really well. It's very compatible. 10.1 V2 has a lot of compatibility, which is really nice. Yeah, we're just going to show you how to install it into a container. You can also install this when you enter container desktop in Gamehub, so it's a really similar process. You just kind of do it over there versus here. Gamehub is also a fork of Winlator, by the way. So here we go, containers. We just press plus to add a new one. You can name this whatever you want. For example, Witcher 3. And then next we're going to be editing some of the settings. So these are not the final settings for the gameplay, it's just for installation. It doesn't really matter too much, but I'm going to change it to turnip, because we're not really running any graphics, because we're just installing the game. But turnip driver, try to get the newest one they have, 2.25.2. And then DXVK, I would get 2.6. I've been experimenting, and 2.6 seems like the best one. So in this video I select 2.5.2, but actually I would recommend you to select 2.6. For all these Witcher games, it's the best I've experimented and found. Not by much, but a little bit. So then we're going to go to add under drives to add your SD card. So add like a F drive, and then you need to know the name of your SD card. So you use /storage, / and then the name of your SD card. So it'll be like a string of numbers. It's different for each SD card, so don't copy mine. Find out what yours is. If you want to find out what yours is, go to the RAR app and then look at the SD card and look at the number underneath. So just copy that in right here so that you can tell Winlator to create a drive that is directly translated to your SD card. That way you can install the game onto your SD card. And make sure when you install, you choose this as your install location. That way you're not taking up internal storage with all these games. So in advanced, we're going to go to stability and normal for the box 64 preset and startup selection. That's really important. The game will not install properly unless you do that. Those are the actual important settings. It's the box 64 preset and the startup selection. You want normal and stable. Stability and normal. Those are the two settings you want, stability and normal. Not performance and not aggressive. We'll do that later when we launch the game. So first you're going to go to your SD card, then you're going to see your PC games, and you're going to find the installation setup.exe from the game that you downloaded, either from GOG or for the internet or otherwise, hopefully legally purchased. And then once you install it, you'll have this. This is your game directory. It'll just show up there wherever you choose the installation location. Then you press on the folder called bin, bin, and then you press on x64. This is in the game directory, and that's how you find your executable to launch the game. Right there, witcher3.exe. So make a shortcut by clicking with 2 fingers and then pressing create shortcut. And you have to launch it from the shortcut, and you have to launch a specific argument that I'll show you how to do later. Otherwise it will not launch. It will not launch if you double click it here. Don't worry, it's not supposed to. So now we're going to go to this little tab that says documents on the left, and then go to Witcher 3, and then see user.settings. This is a very important file. We're going to be editing this later and replacing it to lower the detail to make it easier to run. So now go back to your... Oh, another way to get here is C drive, then user, then X user, then documents, and then you'll see the same thing, Witcher 3. The documents tab is just a shortcut to get to this same place, by the way. I usually just use the documents tab. So now go back to the SD card, to your PC games, to Witcher 3, and go to your game directory. And I'm going to show you another important one, which is in bin, and then instead of x64, we're going to click config, and then we're going to click base. And then we're going to see one called rendering.ini. This is another important file. You can double click this and see all of these settings for details. We're also going to be changing this. We're also going to be replacing it with something you can download off the internet that I put up that has lower detail. So it downscales the textures and all sorts of stuff to make it easier to run on the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. So we will do that before we run the game. But another thing to look at now is if you go to your game directory and then you go into the bin folder again, bin, and then you go into x64. At the very top you should see something called Apex GPU clothing, something like that. See how mine is not there? I already deleted mine. I already backed it up. So I put mine in the backup folder, Apex clothing GPU right there. That's going to be there in yours at the very top. You're going to either want to delete that or back it up somewhere. Copy and paste it to some other folder, maybe called backup or whatever you want. But you don't want that there. See how mine's not there? That's how you run with higher FPS as well. It does increase the FPS quite a bit by deleting that file. Apex clothing GPU. So now we're going to go to Reddit and we're going to download those two rendering and settings. Just search up the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 subreddit. And then you should find it. And you should find a wiki page on that subreddit. This is where we're going to be going. So just click on the button that says wiki. And then in the wiki, you can get to this by just scrolling down all the way to Witcher 3. Just make sure you're not doing the Gamehub one, you're doing the Winlator Frost one. And it should say this Google Drive link. There's two different Google Drive links for Witcher 3, one for Gamehub and one for Winlator Frost. Make sure you're using the Winlator Frost one. You can also go to the settings library in the wiki. It's like a separate wiki tab. And then you can find Witcher 3 on the list of games here. Not the Gamehub, the Winlator Frost. And then you can also just scroll down to it. So right here we have Winlator, but if you go above you'll see Gamehub. But make sure you do the Winlator one. And then this Google Drive link, just click on it, and you'll be brought to a Google Drive where you can download the rendering.ini and the user.settings. So first we'll download the rendering.ini. You're just going to click on the left image here and then press download. Then you can exit out and then you can download the user.settings and then press download. Now you'll see both user settings and rendering.ini are in your downloads folder. That's a good thing. And then you can go into this app called Acode and you can edit, for example, the user.settings. If your resolution is something other than 960 by 544, you're going to need to change that value right there. Mine is set to 960 by 544, but if you change your resolution in the Winlator container, you need to change that value as well and then save it and then import it. So to import it, you're basically going to open the container with Witcher 3, then you go to the D drive, which is your downloads folder, and then you're going to scroll down to user.rendering.ini, user.settings, and just click it with 2 fingers, and that'll bring up the side right click menu, and then you go to copy. So it's a two finger click and then a 1 finger click on copy, then you go to documents, Witcher 3, and then you take the user settings there, right finger click it, and then press delete, and then you're going to just paste the new one. So you've pasted in the one from Reddit, from the Google Drive. That's the low detail user.settings. Now you're going to get the low detail rendering.ini from your downloads folder again, or your D drive. You're going to copy it, just like you did with the settings. Copy, and so you 2-finger click and then copy. And then you're going to go to your F drive or wherever your SD card is with your game directory. And you're going to go to the same place in your game directory as we went last time, which is bin, and then config, and then base. And then just take the rendering.ini, delete it, the one that's already there, and then replace it with yours by copying and pasting the new one from Reddit. So now you have all the new correct files in the correct place. And you've already deleted the Apex clothing GPU, or you've backed it up somewhere. So now you're ready. So now we're going to go over the container settings and the launch parameters. So click on your edit container, then click the gear icon on graphics driver, and just make sure you have the same graphics driver, max device memory, and things checked off as I have. And then go to DX wrapper, and you're going to want 2.6. If you don't have it, click this blue hard drive and find down the list, and then check it off and press OK. And then frame rate is capped at 30, max device memory is 496, and then press OK. The audio driver is pulse audio. You can check off show FPS right there if you want to see the FPS, and you can also delete the underscore HUD values right here, so you don't have the huge HUD. And then you're going to change startup selection to aggressive and box 64 preset to performance. And you're going to check off all of the CPU cores. So here's the important step. Go to shortcuts and then go to the 3 dots to edit your shortcut settings. You have to do this through the shortcut settings. You go to advanced tab, and then you scroll all the way down, and you have to copy this into your exec arguments. This is -- launcher - skip, all lowercase, no spaces. And then check off force full screen and press OK. Now the game will launch. If you don't do that, the game will not launch. You have to launch this game from the shortcut. You can't launch it from inside the container. So there you go. Here's what the game looks like. Winlator Frost with my low detail files. As you can see, the trees, I made it so that they do not render until you get very close to them. So this game has a lot of trees, and I also made it so there's no 3D grass. All the grass is 2D. So it kind of makes the game look a little different, and I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool. It's actually easier to hunt this way, I think, because you can see animals and stuff in the grass much easier. And you can kind of see like the lay of the land through the trees a little bit easier. So it's kind of like a flat grass, almost like how grass looked in like PlayStation 2 games, I guess. And just makes it so it's easier for the game to run at 30 FPS. If you have the grass, I mean, there still is some grasses, like you can see like here, like some of the bigger bushes and stuff are still there. But even the trees, they will not render until you get really close. So when you're at a distance, the tree looks kind of like a blurry 2D image, the trunk and the leaves and everything. And then when you get really close to it, it turns into how the actual tree looks in the game with the full detail. So this just makes it really easy to run because you're not rendering every tree around you in the distance. Or you're not rendering them fully, at least. So as you can see, riding the horse, full speed. The game still runs at 30 FPS. Sometimes dropping to 28, but for the most part, 30, 31, 29. Yeah, just a lower detail version. And we'll go over a few other things before we move on to Gamehub. But on Gamehub, there's more detail. All the trees are rendered, and it can still run at 30 FPS. Here you will notice that there are slowdowns if you go to the town. So this town here, if you're in a town, it's just a lot. Even on Gamehub, there's slowdowns as well. Yeah, Winlator, it performs the most responsively. So it responds really quickly to your inputs. Gamehub seems to have some sort of input delay. Like in Gamehub, when you press a button, it takes like a quarter of a second or a half of a second before Geralt performs the action that you told him to perform by pressing that button. In Winlator Frost, the moment you press the button, Geralt performs the action. That's the best way I can describe it. That's the difference. And but the frame rate is pretty much the same. In both of them, you're going to get 30 in the Wildlands, And then when you go into town, it'll drop down to around 25, 26, 27, sometimes 20. And sometimes by the water, it'll also drop down. Winlator Frost, I think it can render the water pretty good. Oh no, here, see? It's dropping to 25, yeah. Even on the Switch emulator, around the water, it drops down to 25. It's kind of like the towns. It's just a little bit more demanding. Going under the water, you can hold 30. But above the water and around the water, like doing combat on the beach, it'll be 25, 26, 27. It's pretty much universal, the frame rate across all of them, but the way they feel when you play is quite different from Winlator to Gamehub. Winlator feels more responsive. Gamehub seems to be more stable though. Like it doesn't feel like the frame rate is slowing down. Even when the FPS drops in Gamehub, the feel feels the same. I don't know how to describe that, but the speed of the game feels very stable in Gamehub. And in Gamehub you see like it stays at 29 FPS pretty much all the time when you're in the countryside, but in Winlator it stays at 30 FPS. So the frame cap operates a little bit differently in Gamehub. But you can set the Gamehub frame cap to 35 and then the game frame rate stays around 33 or 34 the whole time. So I think it's just one frame underneath whatever your frame cap is. But this one, the frame cap is 30 on the DXVK wrapper, and then even on the game settings, and it stays at 30. And it sometimes goes up to 31. So I guess the frame cap here doesn't drop one frame or something. But yeah, I really like the way it plays in Winlator Frost. It's a very nice experience. I like the PS2 vibes, and I would say Gamehub plays a little bit more like an Xbox 360 game, looks a little bit better detail, because you can actually keep all the trees normal and the grass normal. And but I did lower the details somewhat, and there's a whole different rendering.ini and settings or user.settings file for Gamehub. So use the different ones for that setup and use different ones for this setup. The Switch version feels like a Switch game. That's all I can say about that. It feels good. It feels like any Switch game. The detail is also lower on that, but it's not as low as this. Winlator Frost, I used the lowest detail. It wouldn't run 30 like this at any detail higher than this. So I did lower it because I had to. Otherwise it wouldn't run at 30. Winlator Frost does have one drawback though, and that is crashes. But there is a way to fix the crashes, so I'm going to demonstrate a crash right now. Sometimes the game crashes after you die and then you reload, and sometimes it'll just crash randomly. So I'm going to let it play out. I'm going to let it crash, and then I'm going to show you how to fix crashes on Winlator. The other formats will not crash. I haven't had much crashes on Gamehub or Switch. If Gamehub crashes, just turn it to performance mode on the translation params, as opposed to extreme. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Switch, I don't think I've crashed because I tinkered with the Eden's Veil settings so much that I got to the point where it doesn't crash anymore. So you notice right here the game crashed, and it just sent me back to this menu right here. So if you have a crash with this setup, there is a way to fix it. You go to your container settings, and then you go to edit the container, and the turnip Adreno, you're going to change the max device memory to 2048. You can also change the max device memory for the DXVK to 2048, and you can also press sync every frame, and this should fix the crashes. So now if we load it back up again, we'll do a more extensive gameplay. And also, when you get into the game, go to options and then go into, not gameplay, but video. And then go to post-processing and graphics and make sure that it looks like this. So VSync is off, frame cap is 30, full screen, and all these things are on low and off. And then also go to post-processing and then make sure everything's low and off or none. It should be like that from the rendering and settings files that I gave you, the user.settings and the rendering.ini. But if it's not, just make sure it is. And yeah, we'll do some more gameplay with this setup, and then we'll move on to Gamehub after this.
Not your lucky day.
Bad time.
Not at all. Hand me the beggar tickets, the red bloom. Well, well, one versed in herbs.
Probably saying too much, but I know a bit. For instance, that beggar tick's poisonous.
Yes?
Farewell.
Faster.
Like crickets. It's raining and pouring, and Vermeer's snoring. He bumped his head when he went to bed and went himself to
Will you raise a glass with me?
It's Durban now. It's D-E-R-B-A.
Good man, freak. Whose field is that, the other side of the river?
By the wood. Boy in clinics. Good lad, Master Witcher. Though he...
Yes. This boy, will he venture out to inspect his grain anytime soon?
What for? What?
Yes. What is it, Wolf?
Got good news and good news first.
And the bands that... What else?
Griffin's abandoned its lair.
And how's it?
A crossbow.
Won it in a card game while you ran around. Might come in handy.
A witcher with a crossbow?
Stop talking, Watch out!
It's about to die. Damn! It's fast! Don't let it get away!
Alright, so now we're done with Winlator Frost, and we're going to move on to the Gamehub emulator. So it's also a PC emulator. It's a certain fork of Winlator actually, but it has a little bit higher performance in terms of FPS. It just doesn't seem to have input responsivity that Winlator has. It's a little bit more delayed. There's a little bit of an input delay. You can download it from Gamehub. Just Google it. Shouldn't be hard to find. You can also find Gamehub Lite. It's the same thing as Gamehub, but doesn't have the data suspicions that people have raised about Gamehub, asking for your email address. So, whichever one you want. I just have normal Gamehub here. You can load it up. And yeah, you won't have this because you didn't add the game yet, but you basically just press import games, then you go to PC games, then you click on your SD card, PC games, Witcher 3, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, bin, x64, Witcher 3.exe. I have this because I already installed it in Winlator, and then it boots up and it actually launches in Gamehub too. So in the container settings, I have 960 by 544 resolution, same resolution as Winlator Frost, and I have -- launcher -skip as the command line. That was automatically put in there by Gamehub actually, so that it helps it launch. Same thing we entered into Winlator Frost to get it to launch. In compatibility settings, as you can see, the important things are I changed the translation params to extreme. So it'll start off at game presets and you change it to extreme. If that's giving you crashes, change it to performance. It shouldn't give you crashes though. And then GPU driver, I changed it to the newest turnip driver, so version 26.0.0 revision 4. If there's a newer one at the time of watching this video, then just use that one. What else did I change? Audio driver, I changed to pulse, that's important. DXVK version, I changed to 2.6, that's also important. DXVK 2.6, and then everything else is default. And I made all the same changes to the container desktop. If you go to general, you can go into the container desktop, and then you'll have like the little container like you do in Winlator, because it is a Winlator fork, so you have the same functionality where you can edit the user.settings and the rendering.ini and delete the Apex GPU file. Just all the same stuff we did in Winlator. I'll go through it here though. So you can use your setup.exe to install the game, just like we did in Winlator in this Gamehub app, if you haven't installed it yet. And yeah, if you go to the game directory, you'll see all the same folders and files. And remember, you have to go into bin to find your important files. And then x64. And at the top, you should see Apex GPU clothing. Delete that if it's still there. If it's not there, good. If you want to back it up, you can back it up somewhere. And then you'll go to backup, and you can see it there. As like mine, that's where I backed mine up. I copy and pasted mine there. It wasn't there before, but that used to be an x64 folder. You don't want that in the x64 folder. Either rename it, delete it, or move it into your backups folder. Now if you go into bin, then go into x64, you'll see it's not there. That's what you want to see. There's no Apex GPU clothing at the top. So now if you go to your game directory and you go to bin, and then you go up to config, then base, and then rendering.ini, you'll see the same rendering.ini. If you already imported it in Winlator, you'll see that one, and you can leave it there. That's the same one I put. But the user.settings is actually different for Gamehub. So if you're going to run it on Gamehub, you need to download the user.settings from the Google Drive that's on the Gamehub wiki entry on r/Retroid Pocket Flip 2. It's a different user.settings, but the rendering.ini is the same. You can keep that one there. It's part of the game directory now if you've already imported it from the Winlator tutorial. It's just in there. So don't worry about that. Just leave it there. But yeah, to get to the user.settings, click on the documents just like you would do in Winlator, and then click on The Witcher 3, and you'll see user.settings there. Now, this is going to be the default user.settings. It's not the one we imported, because that's built into the container itself. Not the documents is in the C drive, which is the internal storage in Gamehub. So you're going to have to import a new one of these by going on r/Retroid Pocket Flip 2, the subreddit, and downloading it from my Google Drive from the Witcher 3 Gamehub entry, not the Winlator entry. And then you'll download it. It'll be in your D drive like here, and you'll see user.settings, and you can copy and paste it into the correct location, just like we did before in the Winlator tutorial. But I'll walk you through it here just in case you didn't watch the Winlator tutorial and you just want to play it on Gamehub and you skipped ahead to here. I will show you how to do that with both the rendering and the user.settings in case you have neither one imported. So go to Reddit and then go to search bar and then search up Retroid Pocket Flip 2, one word, with a capital R, and go to the subreddit r/Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And then in this subreddit, go to the wiki. It has all these game settings in it, and make sure that you find the settings library tab and click on it, and then scroll down to Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Gamehub 30 FPS. And it's different than the Winlator, so make sure the title is not Winlator Frost, it's Gamehub. It won't show it here because I filmed this before I titled them as different titles, but you will find the same settings here for Gamehub with the new turnip driver and everything, and then you'll see two files from this Google Drive link. Click on that link, and these are the correct files for Gamehub. So once you click them, you should be brought to a Google Drive page, and you press open, and then you're going to download both of these files just by clicking on them. You can just click on the little gray page and then press download, and then press download. Download completed. Okay, now you can download the other one. User.settings, download, and then download. And now you will have both in your D drive, otherwise known as the downloads folder. You can check to make sure they're there. There they are. That's a good sign. And you can go in and click on using A-Code, this app here. You can click on it and open it with A-Code, which is an Android app from the Google Play Store. It's a text editing app. And you can edit the resolution. If your resolution is different than mine, just make sure you change the user.settings so that it reflects your container resolution. If it's not, it'll get all messed up. So make sure your container resolution is 960 by 544 as well. Then go into Gamehub, go into your PC game settings, go to General, enter Container Desktop just like we did before. And I'm just going to quickly show you copy and pasting it from your D drive to the correct places. So D drive is my computer, and then D, that's your downloads folder. And then you're going to be looking for rendering.ini and user.settings, the two you just downloaded from the Google Drive. And make sure you click with two fingers and then go to copy, and then go to documents, Witcher 3, and then get the user.settings that's there, delete it, and then press yes, and then click with two fingers in the empty space and then press paste. Okay, so now you can press back and forward to make sure it's there. User.settings is there, good. Now we can go to my computer and go to the D drive and select the rendering.ini. Click it with 2 fingers and then press copy. And then go to my computer and go to your F drive or whatever drive is your SD card. Mine is F. In Gamehub I think it automatically assigns it to F. And then go to PC Games, Witcher 3, and then go to your game directory, the top one. And then your game directory, you're going to go to bin, config, and then base. And then you're going to delete the rendering.ini that's here, and then paste your new one that you got from the Google Drive, from the Reddit, and paste it in there. So that's all the low detail things. Make sure you have the Apex clothing GPU deleted. We already went over that. But yeah, the rendering.ini, that's the new one there. That's good. So you should have everything ready to launch the game now. If you look in x64, there's no Apex clothing GPU. That's good. Just double check if it's there or not. And after that, you're all set. You should be ready to launch the game in Gamehub. So just go back and then click on the actual game image. And make sure also you're in performance mode. With all 3 of these Witcher games, you want to always be in high performance mode and the fan on max. Yeah, it'll take a little while to launch, but it will launch. So once you get into the main menu, go down to options and just double check that your options are the same as you see on the screen. It should be because you downloaded my user.settings and rendering.ini. So all these things should be off. If you go to graphics, it should be full screen. I don't know why mine's on borderless window, but you can change it to full screen. I think it's best with full screen. I don't think it's really much different though. It might change the FPS a little bit. So to monitor the FPS, just look at the little green graph at the bottom of the screen and where it says FPS 29. I have the frame cap at 30, so it stays around 29, 28, 27. And sometimes it'll bounce down to 20 when it's rendering a new area. But it's nice to see that the graph is flat. If you turn the frame cap up to 31, then it will stay, the FPS will stay at 30 instead of 29. I think it just renders at 1 FPS right below the cap for some reason. But yeah, you can also turn the FPS up to 35, and then the FPS will stay between 33 and 34 for the most part. So it can go up higher, but I think 30 is kind of a good place. It's realistic, and it doesn't bounce around as much. But yeah, I mean, this is like a lot more detailed than the Winlator version, as you can see. The Winlator version, we didn't have all this grass on the ground, and the trees were not fully rendered. But even in this game, even the trees at a distance are fully rendered, and I'm still maintaining this FPS. But the problem with this one is that it doesn't feel as responsive, and it feels like there's some sort of input delay. Like when you press the button, there's like a little half a second before he does whatever the button tells him to do, which is really weird for gameplay. I mean, there might be a workaround this. I'm not an expert with Gamehub. I'm kind of new to Gamehub. I'm more of an expert in Winlator. And the Winlator, the result is really good, what I got. I'm happy with it. But with full detail like this, and by the way, this is not full detail. I have decreased the detail a good amount. I just decreased it more with Winlator. So with Gamehub, it can handle a little bit more detail. Not full detail, but a little bit more. And it can handle that and maintain that 30 FPS in the countryside like Winlator could. But for some reason there is this weird sort of like latency effect that Gamehub has. I'm not sure if this is just a Gamehub thing or if it's a DXVK wrapper choice or a turnip driver thing. Maybe I could try different turnip drivers. I don't know. You can always experiment with other things, or if there's latency reduction settings that I don't know about, maybe that'll fix it. But the same exact thing, same exact latency effect happens with the Switch on Eden. So I'm not sure if it's just a game problem as well. It might just, because I've run other games through Gamehub without any latency. So I think it is just a Witcher 3 problem. But for some reason we don't have that problem on Winlator Frost 10.1 v2, the tutorial I did right before this. So that's really interesting. Otherwise, this is superior to Winlator Frost in almost every other way, because you have full grass, you have the full visual beauty of the game. And it is at 29, as you can see, very stable. Like the line is extremely stable. It's like a flat graph, that green line. That's what you want to see, is a stable 30 FPS. So this is a stable 30 FPS setup, which is awesome, because in the towns in Winlator, even though you have stable 30 FPS in Winlator, in the countryside, in the forest, in the fields, whatever, if you go into the town, it does drop into 20, 22, 25, 27, and it kind of bounces around between 20 and 30 when you're in a village. But we'll show some village gameplay in this video and see how well it does. But yeah, let's ride the horse at full speed and also see how well it renders with full speed horse riding. One other thing about this, you'll notice that there's no audio. It does have perfect audio. It's just that the audio driver, which is pulse audio, the one that works, doesn't translate to screen record, so you can't hear it on the screen record that I'm running right now. But you can hear it in real life. And if I try to switch it to ALSA also, which works with screen record, but then it causes the game to crash and causes audio glitches. So the correct audio driver does matter in Gamehub, and it's pulse audio. So here we go, riding at full speed, 29 FPS. And we have enemies and everything, and we're still maintaining that pretty flat frame rate curve. So this is pretty good performance. I think once we figure out the latency, if someone can figure out in the comments, maybe let us know. Or maybe I'm just tripping, but I feel like there is some weird latency when I'm playing this, and it does not happen in Winlator Frost. And the other two Witcher games didn't have any latency, and they worked perfect in Winlator Frost as well, with very responsive feedback. After your input, the guy Geralt, he performs the actions right away, which is what you expect from playing a video game. You just don't expect there to be latency, especially on a handheld. It's not like you're using a Bluetooth controller or anything. So I don't know what that is. I think it's like, maybe it could be the translation params, the extreme. I don't know. I haven't really tinkered too much with it to try to eliminate it, but if I do, I will update you guys in the comments as well if I figure out this latency thing. So if you like to play games at full detail and you like the more visual appeal and don't really care about a little bit of latency, then I would recommend Gamehub, because this you get full foliage and grass and stuff. So that's always nice. I don't mind the flat. See how like the terrain it's a little bit harder to hunt, a little bit harder to see everything, because they can be kind of hiding in the grass or the bushes. And the other one, you can kind of just see them. The ground is perfectly flat on the Winlator one. So with lower detail in the grass, or just 2D grass. I actually like that. With all these bushes, it can be kind of a lot. But I don't know. It's impressive that Gamehub can maintain 29 FPS with all these environmental aspects that are still rendering fully. Not with full detail. I did downscale the textures quite a bit. It's kind of like trying to make it into an Xbox 360 game. Whereas in Winlator, it looks almost like a PS2 game. Like this looks like a proper Xbox 360 game. You can also try running this in Winlator, but you get quite a bit of slowdowns with these this user.settings and the rendering.ini for the Gamehub. Yeah, you can use those files in Winlator and try it out, but it's going to drop down even in the countryside. So now we're going to gallop full speed into the town and test how well it holds up in the town. So in the Winlator version, it dropped to around 20, 22, 24, 27, and kind of bounced around in that range when we were in the town. And we're going to see what happens in Gamehub. Alright, so it looks like it is dropping. It says 22, but as you can see from the video, it still feels very smooth. So it dropped down to the same FPS that it does on Winlator, according to the FPS reader, but according to like the feel test, how it feels like very smooth still, which is strange, but it's good. I don't know how that's doing that, but on Winlator it actually did feel choppy, and it did feel like the gameplay was actually being slowed down in the town. Here it doesn't really feel like it's being slowed down. If you don't have an FPS counter on, you probably won't even really notice it, unless you're very sensitive to it. But yeah, it feels, let's go back again and see. Yeah, 23. It's the same thing as Winlator 22. But it feels better than Winlator somehow. I don't know why, it just feels smoother. But I'm guessing that the reason why it feels so smooth in this game overall is the reason why it has that input delay feel as well. It's smoothing stuff out that usually would chop it up. I don't know how it's doing that. It might be the translation params, but it's causing some weird input delay as well. It's only very slight. You have to be sensitive to notice it. So next we're going to talk about Eden Emulator, which is the Switch version of the game. So there's only one version for Switch, and that's the correct version. It's the base game, so you don't need to worry about that. Just don't update it. But in terms of Eden, the Eden version 0.0.4 is what we're using. I have RC1. It's the one that came out right after 0.0.3. You can get the newest one. Might as well get the newest one. I'm just telling you which one I'm using. But if you go to the APK, make sure you download the Legacy APK. That's the correct APK for Retroid Pocket Flip 2 and Retroid Pocket 5 with the Snapdragon 865. Once you've downloaded the Legacy APK, it'll ask you for your Switch firmware and your prod keys and title keys. You can get those off Google. Just Google them and provide those to the emulator. And then you're going to select your game folder. Make sure it's a folder that has your base game that you got off of your legally purchased cartridge of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. It's just the base game. So just buy the cartridge and then use your MIG flash dumper and dump the base game. You don't want to update it. Don't use the update. Don't update it in Eden. Don't do the update 4.04. It's not good. It'll make the game worse and have a worse frame rate. You just want the base game. In terms of the GPU driver for Eden, we're going to be installing a new one, and it's called Mr. Purple T22. So if you've already downloaded Mr. Purple T22 off the internet, you should have it on your device somewhere. It looks like this. And or you can also fetch it. So if you press in your Eden, in the newer Eden versions, you can actually fetch drivers. You click on Mr. Purple Turnip, and then it'll have T22, which is the latest one. Use that one. If more recent Turnip Mr. Purple T drivers come out after this video, if you're watching this in the future, maybe try the new ones, because there is a slight graphical glitch with the current one. It plays pretty nicely. It plays very nicely, but it does have a graphical glitch, and it doesn't affect gameplay in any way. But yeah, if you Google T22 Mr. Purple, you can also find it on the internet. That's how I found it. I got it from the GitHub. So yeah, in the future, if you're watching this, try an even newer Mr. Purple driver. It'll probably work even better. But this one works pretty good for now. It's a pretty stable 30 FPS if you use 0.75x resolution. And it's about 26 FPS if you use 1x resolution. In the add-on section, do not update to 4.04. You can add DLCs, but otherwise, don't add anything. So next we're going to click on settings and then go to graphics. And then change the resolution to 0.75x. That'll give you 30 FPS. And then scroll down until you see use asynchronous shaders and enable that setting. And then go to Eden's Veil and disable the extended dynamic state. For provoking vertex, we're going to be enable. Descriptor indexing is also enabled. Sample shading is disabled. Release fences early is enabled. DMA accuracy is set to safe. You have to click on it and change it. Disable buffer reorder is disabled. Enhanced frame pacing is enabled. Use fast GPU time is disabled. Shader backend is SPUR-V. NVDEC emulation is GPU. ASTC decoding method is GPU. ASTC recompression method is BC1 low quality. VRAM usage mode is conservative. Optimized SPUR-V output is on load. Fast CPU time is turned off. Custom CPU ticks is turned off. Skip CPU inner invalidation is turned off. Enable host MMU emulation is turned on. Enable LRU cache is enabled. Synchronized core speed is enabled. Sync memory operations is enabled. Memory layout is 4 GB. So these are Eden Vale settings, which are unique to Eden, which help stabilize the gameplay and improve performance and reduce crashes if you set them the way I have them set. So then you can launch the game, you're all ready to go. But first, go into the options down at the bottom here and select display. Then select post-processing and turn everything off. But foliage visibility range I kept on high. And what that does is it makes it so that the trees, the leaves on the trees, are visible from far away. So for whatever reason on the Switch version, the trees do not demand a lot and doesn't lower the FPS to keep them on high. Most of the slowdowns that I've seen are by the ocean or by the water or ponds or lakes or whatever. That slows it down to about 25, and then going into the villages or towns slows it down to about 25 as well. It's pretty much identical performance on all three of these, you know, Winlator, Gamehub, Switch. If you set them up the way I set them up, it's like 30 FPS average, and then like as you're going through the countryside, it's 30, and the villages will be 25, and the ocean will be like 25. If you're fighting some drowners by the ocean, there's 25. Alright, so here's the visible graphical glitch. So you see like the seams within the squares of land where they're connected, there's like little gaps that you can actually see. That's the Eden emulator, the current version. The driver, I'm not really sure. I think it's the emulator that causes that. And there's also weird little, like, see these sections on the ground? Little like yellow circles. There's supposed to be like plants growing there or something, I don't know. That could be because I have the detail on low, I'm not sure. But I have foliage visibility range on high, so I don't really know why that's there, but it doesn't really disturb the gameplay. Neither of those graphical glitches cause any issues. But you can see here by the water, it's dropping down to 25, 24, 23. That's about as low as it'll go. And it's usually only by the ocean or if you go into the village. Otherwise, it stays at 30. So this is a good way to play. It looks a little strange on the ground sometimes, but for the most part, it's a very good looking game. And it's pretty much equivalent to how the other ones look. So yeah, I'll let you enjoy the rest of this gameplay demo. We are pretty much finished with all of the tutorials and gameplays in this video.
Let's go!
Freak.
Run, Roach. Let's go!
Come on. Come on.
Alright, so that about wraps it up for the Witcher 3 tutorial on the PlayStation 2.